Hey, welcome to the live stream. We're live on both Facebook and YouTube right now. It's been quite a while since we've posted a new video. It's probably been like six weeks or so. And that's because there's been a lot going on in our lives. So first we were looking for a home, and that was taking up a lot of our time. And then we had all the packing and moving and cleaning and repairing that last house, getting the new house ready, all that stuff. So that was taking up a lot of our time. And then the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking a lot. I've been doing a lot of thinking. And our life, my life and mine, it's changing a lot. Like we're getting married soon, and we recently got engaged, if you didn't know that. And we're building a life and a home together. So we've been thinking about our future. Well, what's it going to look like in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, and so on. And we have three dogs now. Before long, kids will probably be in the picture. So when thinking about what our life is going to look like in 5 years, it's hard to picture having a family YouTube channel, like where the little kids are in the videos and whatnot. I don't think that's a life either one of us wants. So what does this mean? Well, for a while now, I've been thinking that I want to start a new project, one that's my biggest passion in life. And that's investing. So that's basically what I spend all of my free time doing, just reading and researching and all sorts of stuff in the realm of investing. And so I'm going to be starting a new project, and that's going to be a new YouTube channel in the investing realm, mostly around natural resources, but also a little bit more broad than that. But what does this mean for Tangerine Travels? Well, I'm still going to continue with it, and we're still going to continue with it. However, it's going to be different. There isn't going to be time to, like, 95% of my effort is going to be focused on this new thing. So there isn't going to be time for me to be making a whole bunch of videos. Like, for example, I've been doing videos on a bunch of topics that I knew were going to be very helpful to a small group of people, but that I knew would not appeal to a wide range of audience, like a broad audience. So, for example, I did a video on how I get mail and medicines in Mexico. And with this new project, I won't be able to do videos like that because it's too small of an audience. So basically now with Tangerine Travels, I'm going to be doing videos that will be appealing to a lot of people. So that's the type of videos that will be going on Tangerine Travels, maybe one every couple of weeks. But yeah, if I don't think that a video is going to appeal to a broad range of people on the channel, I just think I'm not going to have time to do this with all the focus that I'm going to be putting on the new one. So yeah, that's kind of the plan going forward here. Sharon says, I hope you can travel more. We haven't been able to travel in a while because like we've been super busy switching homes, but that's been like a month in the making or so. But the biggest thing keeping us from traveling right now is that we have an elderly dog who's really struggling. And it's kind of like having an elderly parent or grandparent that you're the primary caregiver. And that's how it is with her. And we can't leave her. we we might be able to travel with her if we're traveling in the car, but I mean, it's vet visits almost every single week with her, and she really needs us at home. So Phyllis says, just stopped in and saw you were live. You're engaged? Wow, congrats. Yeah, yeah. The engagement video was posted a couple of months ago. I recorded that, so that's on the channel. You can go watch it if you would like. In fact, I'll go find the link for you, and I'll post it in the chat here. It'll just take me a moment. Okay, Google switched things up, and now I can't find I can't find my YouTube channel. Okay. Okay, there it is. They switched up the homepage when I click in the top right corner. And okay, grabbing the link now. Sorry it's taking so long. Okay, back here. Okay, here's the link to the engagement video if you haven't seen that yet. Donna says, wish you well on your new adventures. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Jen asked, what's your new YouTube going to be called? I could use well thought out advice. That's not something that I'm going to share yet, because here's why. So YouTube, it's shocking, but their algorithms are kind of terrible at finding the right audience. So here's what I mean by that. So like Tangerine Travels is mostly about travel around Mexico, living in Mexico, life, adapting into life in a new country as a foreigner, things like that. So sometimes I post videos about Las Vegas. And whenever I do, YouTube shows that video to all the people who are interested in Mexico and in like Mexico travel. And then they see that nobody's clicking on the Vegas video. And then they're like, oh, wow, this video must not be of interest to people because nobody's clicking on it. Well, that's just their algorithms being kind of stupid, because after about 3 or 4 months, they're like, oh my gosh, we were just serving this to the wrong people. We were sending it to people, we were showing it to people who are interested in Mexico, but we should have been showing it to people who are interested in Las Vegas. So, okay, now we're going to give it a whole bunch of views because now we finally found the right audience for that. And here's why I'm not going to share the name of the new channel right away, is because if I do, and all of my first subscribers over there are from the people from this channel who are interested in like Las Vegas or Mexico, and they start subscribing to that channel, well, then YouTube will think that that channel is about Mexico and that they should be showing those videos to people who are interested in Mexico, and then nobody's going to click on them, and then the channel's not going to be successful, or at least not right away, and it's going to take quite a few months for YouTube to find the right audience for those videos. So basically, I have to build up a new community over there organically first before I can share it. Otherwise, YouTube's stupid algorithm won't be showing it to the right people. But if like I have 1,000 subscribers over there and YouTube knows what those people are interested in, and then I share it with you guys, and then some of you start coming over there, well, then they'll still know who the core audience is there, and they won't get confused. So that's the reason for that. Hope I explained that well enough. With all of their AI and technology, I'm shocked at how bad their algorithm is at finding the correct audience for video. It's terrible. Like if you do anything outside the norm of your channel at all. Christina asked, are you doing red light therapy with Laska? Yeah, it's one of the things that's been helping her a lot. So I try to put the red light on her for, well, at least a half hour every day, because I've noticed that the longer that I put it on her, the better she is later that day, like the more she's moving around. Rick asks, investments, is that the stock market? Yeah, I mean, it could be the stock market, and that's where a lot of my knowledge lies, but it will be broader than that as well. Rivera says, I hope you don't try to dupe your subscribers with crypto. You know, I've gotten countless. It was happening just about every day that I would get an email from some crypto company or someone wanting to promote an NFT, being like, I'll pay you $2,000 to mention my NFT in a video. And I thought that with almost every single one of those, odds are anybody who spent their money on it would lose. So I declined every single one of those offers. Yeah, I could have accepted it. I could have accepted them and probably made a couple $100,000 from them. But no, I chose that. Like my integrity was more important than any of that. Is Mexico going digital? I'm not sure what you're asking. Oh, you're talking about a digital currency. Uh, digital, it's very much still a cash society. Like they're quite a few years behind or ahead of the US, depending on how you look at it as a good thing or a bad thing in terms of it still being very much a cash society. So lots of transactions are still done in cash. So I think we're much further from a digital currency here than in the US. Uh, but they're pretty digital in that, like, everyone who's registered with the Mexican tax authority, like if you have a business here, the Mexican tax authority is, they know everything in your bank account. They know exactly how much money is in your bank account. And if you get a deposit in there and it's from an unknown source, they'll be like, what's this? It's kind of crazy what they're further ahead, if you can call it that, in terms of uh, basically, yeah, I don't know, that kind of thing. Dara says, I watched both your Mexico and Las Vegas videos. You're one of the few. Uh, Now, it's probably like 10% of people who are interested in the Mexican content will also watch the Vegas content. But that being such a small percentage is enough for YouTube to be like, oh, this video must suck because nobody's clicking on it. Manuel asks, so is Laska sick? How's she doing? So you guys don't know. About a year and a half ago, or yeah, about a year and a half ago, she ruptured a ligament in one of her back legs, and she got surgery for that. It took quite a while to recover from that surgery, and it was tough for her. That was a tough recovery. And recently, she ruptured the same ligament in her other leg. So then I was like, oh shit, no, that's another surgery, and she's older now, and like she has declined a lot since she got that last surgery. We were thinking that it'd be really tough to put her through another surgery. But we found out about this surgery that was, the doctor said, minimally invasive and a much faster recovery time than the last surgery she had. However, it doesn't last as long, but Alaska's almost 14 years old, so we don't need it to last a long time. But then we ended up taking her to another vet who taught us about this company in Mexico who creates a bunch of products, orthopedic products and stuff for dogs and cats with various conditions. And one of the things they make is a brace for dogs who have a ruptured ligament. And it's basically an alternative to surgery. So she's been wearing that brace and getting other therapies and supplements and whatnot, things like that. And she's doing all right. She has her good days and she has her bad days. But hopefully we can continue giving her a high quality of life without any surgery. Christina says, we can't travel the world because our breed is banned in so many places and she's an absolute teddy bear. So, yeah, I experienced that a little bit with a husky in Phoenix. There were a lot of apartment complexes where I couldn't rent because husky was on the short list of breeds that weren't allowed. It was like pit bulls and Rottweilers and a couple others, and then huskies on some of them. But if you're trying to rent in the US, for example, and you have a pit bull, that can be really difficult because almost everybody will decline you for that. However, here in Mexico, if you're looking to live here and rent long term, it's different with those kind of what they call aggressive breeds, and it's a lot easier to rent here having dogs. Miguel asks, hi, Jordan, are you still doing sessions and consults for moving to Mexico? Yeah, actually, if any of you are interested, this is something that I recently started. It had been requested many times, probably hundreds of times over the last number of years of people requesting private one-on-one consultations. I can't do them for free because it takes time away from me doing other stuff, but if you're interested in scheduling a one-on-one call that we can talk about your particular situation, well then you can click on this link here. I'll post it in the comments. And yeah, you'll have that time dedicated to answer whatever questions you might have. Maybe it's questions about moving to Mexico. Maybe it's questions about traveling here. Recently did a consult with someone who was coming to Queretaro and had a bunch of questions about the city and about the area and the cities nearby and things like that. And we covered a lot of stuff in a short period of time, and they got a lot of their questions answered. So if you're interested in that, you can check out that link. Time for a haircut. Yes, it is. Yeah, I've been wanting one. Just been busy running around for the last 6 weeks or so. Speaking of cryptocurrency, MG Toe says the only cryptocurrency anyone should get is Monero. That's one that was around before all the scam coins started coming out. And everybody with a pulse who was a scammer was creating some type of coin and creating an ICO to try to scam money out of people. There was a point at which I just lost interest in cryptocurrency because it was just like everything that was coming out was just a scam. But yeah, Monero is one that's been around for a long time, focused on privacy. I remember that came out in the days where you could still follow every new coin that was coming out. So the Mexican government has visibility of your bank account. Yes, they do. I don't have clarity on how many people this applies to, but for example, she has a physical therapy business, and the Mexican tax authority SAT, they knew every transaction coming into her bank account. Christopher asks, what do you say to fellow YouTube or Facebook bloggers or vloggers? Do you have a preferred platform? Unfortunately, I'm finding it hard to reach out to others or get videos promoted. Of course, I'm more just looking to promote places. I go not doing it for the money, just to help others travel with me digitally or help them when they visit. I know you do much the same. So, yeah, I mean, whether you're doing it on Facebook or YouTube, it's basically the same concept. What the two platforms want is basically the same. They want people to click on your video, and they want you to watch a significant portion of it, and they want the average person to watch a lot of the video. So, I mean, I could talk all day about retention tactics and like how you get people interested and clicking on the video and watching until the end and all that stuff. And there's hundreds of things I could share when it comes to that. But when you're making a video, like the content is really important. So if the content isn't great, it's never going to get promoted, no matter how good you are at getting the click or anything like that. So first of all is content. Basically, just always try to improve. If you're always improving, eventually your content will be good enough that it will be widely distributed. Now, um, but then even if you have good content, you still need to get people to click on the video and watch a significant portion of it. And how do you do that? Just put yourself in a viewer's perspective. What would you click on as a viewer? And when you do that, it helps a lot when it comes to deciding what the thumbnail and title and stuff will be. Claude Darby says, I watch a lot of investing videos and I'm an investor. If that's your new direction, count me in. I'll be a subscriber. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. A little while after I start, after the channel has some momentum, I'll share it here. But not before then. As I described earlier, it will just mess with the YouTube algorithms if I do that. Miguel, thanks for the super chat. He says, thanks, Jordan. So I plan to move there in a year or two. Do you recommend doing it now or closer to when I move? Sorry, Miguel, I'm unsure about what you mean. Doing what specifically? Are you talking about getting residency, maybe? If so, if you can travel to Mexico and you qualify for residency right now, I would say yes, go for it right now, because they may change the requirements in the future. They may increase a lot. You might not qualify for residency when it comes time for you to actually move. Now, if you're talking about something other than residency, please clarify it, and I'll be looking for your comment here. Danny asked, is Queretaro safe for foreigners? Have you encountered any times when you felt unsafe? Yes, I would say that Queretaro is pretty safe for foreigners. There are some neighborhoods in the city that I wouldn't want to live in. There are more unsafe neighborhoods. But if you're living in one of the many neighborhoods that most foreigners are going to live in, then yeah, it's going to be pretty safe. Of course, there's things you can do to increase your safety. You can get a dog that will help prevent break-ins. Like a lot of people have a dog here for security for that reason. Something else is living in a gated community that will help your safety levels a lot as well. But have I ever encountered any times when I felt unsafe? Uh, so there was personally, no, but you hear stories. Like for example, one of our neighbors shared this experience that she had, and she was in the Home Depot parking lot, and she had just pulled in there. She was her daughter was in the back seat, and these three guys with a gun tried to steal her daughter. So I mean, stuff, bad stuff does happen. So, but overall, yes, I do feel safe. I take precautions, but it's one of the safer places in Mexico. Pat says your YouTube revenue must be going down since you slowed down your content. Yeah, I mean, when you don't post in a while, like I haven't posted a video in, I don't know what it's been exactly, but my estimate would be about 6 weeks. Yeah, you have no new videos getting views, and your new videos also promote your old videos, and your old videos get more views when you post new videos. So yeah, when you don't post for a while, revenue goes down. Christina says, repeat your announcement, please. So if you want the full story, just rewind the stream to the very beginning. But basically, there's a lot of changes happening in our lives, and I'm going to be pursuing something that I've been passionate about and studying for the better part of 15 years. And that's investing. I'm going to be starting a new investing channel, and most of my focus is going to be on that. I'll still be posting on Tangerine Travels, but it will basically only be videos that are going to appeal to a broad audience, and there won't be any like specific really niche down content anymore on the channel. So, for example, like one of the videos I'll be doing coming up is a home tour, amongst others, on Tangerine Travels. But yeah, most of my focus will be on the new channel, because just thinking about the life we want for us and our family in 5 years, and plus, I'd rather be doing the thing that I'm the most passionate about. Christopher says, I'm not sure what this is talking about. He owns the Guayabo in Juriquilla. So there's a seafood restaurant called El Guayabo, but that's owned by a female. Shootouts are very rare, but my advice: do not go to dumb places late at night. So there was one time recently that there was a shooting in Juriquilla, and it started at the restaurant El Guayabo. I don't believe there was actually shooting at El Guayabo, but the disagreement or whatever started there, and then the shooting took place maybe a few minutes driving from there or so. Alexa asked, "Oh my God, how old was her daughter?" Well, she was sitting in the back seat, so I I don't know exactly, but for some reason I was picturing her daughter to be about 4. Maybe that was just me creating images in my head, or maybe I actually heard or read that somewhere. Glenn asked, "What are your thoughts on water management?" I get the sense that water is becoming a much bigger issue in Mexico. Glenn, I'm sorry, I just don't know enough to comment on the water issue. Are you in jail? No, this is just a tangerine shirt that I'm wearing. Does this look like jail? I don't know. I hope not. Have you ever thought about doing interviews with random people in Mexico? YouTubers do that to get views. I mean, yeah, I've considered like doing kind of what people's stories, sharing their stories, hopefully less of an interview style and more of like them sharing their story, what they were doing before coming to Mexico, what made them come to Mexico, maybe a house tour of where they're living, what kind of budget they're on, things like that. Uh, yeah, that's something I've seriously considered. Will your investment channel be Mexico focused? No, it won't. There'll be some, but no, that won't be the focus. So what's going to happen to this channel? We'll still be posting videos. It'll just be videos. So I've done a lot of videos lately that I knew wouldn't get very many views, but I posted them because I thought they'd be very helpful to the people who it was relevant to. But in the new Tangerine Travels, there won't be any of that. It will just be like the broad appeal videos that are going to be of interest to a large number of people interested in Mexico. Oh, sorry. I was talking about scheduling a session. Should I do it now or closer to when I move, which is in about 2 years or less? Um, Now, I can't guarantee that I'll be offering that service in 2 years. Um, so, in that sense, maybe it would be better to do it now. But I mean, I can't really recommend doing it now because I think as the time gets closer to you moving, you're going to have better questions and more questions. I mean, maybe if there's maybe there's things we could talk about now and then later. I'm not sure. I guess it just depends on what kind of questions you want to answer, but I would hate to give you answers that are accurate now and then they change over the next 2 years. But yeah, so just depends on what you think. Tanya says, please don't stop. We love your page. Thank you. I appreciate you following. Have you ever thought about selling merch? In the past, I did have a merch store, but it didn't work out how I had hoped, so ended up shutting it down. Leah says, I would totally buy Tangerine Travels merch. Thanks. Will my appear on your investment channel? I highly doubt it. I, unless the channel goes some direction that I'm not thinking about at the moment. But with what I have in mind, I don't think so. Karen says, hey, Jordan, you guys can still travel. Just do an hour or two, then you can take dogs. Yeah, I'm gonna probably do short trips like that. Um, we'd probably just take Alaska because it would just be easier for us to handle that trip with just Alaska and then either leave the other two with a trusted sitter or with the people who did their training. But yeah, we've been talking about that and we'll likely do that before long. Malia says, hey, Jordan, what's a good budget-friendly area in Queretaro? We want to find a very reasonable but safe rental so I can build savings and stop working as much. Um, so it, it would help if you gave me an idea of how many dollars per month you're thinking about. So maybe you can leave that in the comments and I can answer that better. I clicked on the wrong one. Verlaine, so interested and can't wait to watch your investment channel. Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll share it as soon as I can. And by the way, that's going to be a separate channel, not on Tangerine Travels. Malia says less than 650 a month US, just me and my hubby. Okay, let me just figure out what $650 is in pesos. Okay, that's about 11,400 pesos at today's exchange rate. 11,400 pesos. I'd probably look into El Refugio. I'll put that here in the chat. El Refugio, and then also Zyka. Snow, that's the name of a restaurant. Dang it, what's there's one that starts with a Z, and it's slipping my mind right now. Anyway, the other one that I'm thinking of is close geographically to El Refugio. So if you look at El Refugio on a map, well, then the other one, you'll probably be able to find it there. It starts with a Z. It's not Zibatá. I'm thinking of something else. Yes, thank you, Miguel. It's Zakia. That Zakia is a place with more affordable places that actually a lot of foreigners are choosing. Zibatá, I think that's going to be, although I like Zibatá, I think that's going to be outside of the price range. I don't think you're going to be able to find anything for 11,400 a month there in terms of pesos. But maybe there's apartments there or something that I don't know about. But there's a lot of single family homes there, and the single family homes that I've seen are more expensive than that. Rob says, Queretaro has an HEB. That's reason enough for the South Texan to get temporary residency and move there. Actually, that place I just mentioned, El Refugio, that's just a couple minutes driving from one of the city's 3 HEBs. There's actually 3 locations, and they're in the process of opening a 4th. It looks like the 4th will be open within a couple of months or so. So will you change the name of the channel? I've been playing with that idea, but for clarity though, the investing channel is going to be on a totally separate channel, on a new channel. So yes, that one will of course have a different name, but for Tangerine Travels, I don't know, maybe sometime in the future. Mexico has an HEB? Damn, I'm in Arizona and we need one here. Yeah, they're actually expanding really fast. The state of Nuevo León, where Monterrey is at, they have a whole bunch of locations. We have 3 here in Queretaro. Aguascalientes has one. But yeah, there's probably something like 50 HEB stores so far, mostly from the central part of Mexico up into the northeastern part of Mexico. You think that sometime in the future, are you going to do a small giveaway? Maybe. What kind of giveaway are you thinking? And regarding that $650 a month budget, he makes a good point here saying, also keep in mind that you have to pay for electricity, gas, and then also water. I haven't had, well, I haven't directly paid garbage fees, but I think those have been included in the HOA fee. But yeah, you'll have to take into account those. So for electricity, if you have a small apartment, it would be pretty tough to get your electric bill over $50 a month. As for gas, like cooking and hot showers, usually like a tank full maybe runs me $150, and that lasts for 6 months. So what is that per month? Like $25 a month. And then water for small apartment, you don't have a lawn to water. It's basically just taking showers, cleaning the dishes, and things like that. Your water bill will probably be less than 200 pesos, or maybe $10 a month or something. Leonard says HEB is coming to San Juan del Rio next year. Oh, cool. I hadn't heard that yet. A wedding ticket giveaway. Yeah, we're still chatting about what we want to do regarding the wedding and making it open to the public and things like that. We're not really sure how that all is going to work out. What is HEB? HEB is a Texas-based grocery store. So it's one of the best places here to find those hard to find products in Mexico, because HEB has their own brand in their store. I think it's called like Hills Country Fare. And they make and sell a lot of the products here in Mexico that are difficult to find in other grocery stores. But it's a nice grocery store. I wasn't familiar with it before they opened here in Queretaro, but I enjoy shopping there. Wedding ticket giveaway, super idea. Diane says, just make the wedding live. Yeah, I mean, I thought about that, and it'd be cool to do that, but that that could cause a privacy issue for other people there. And I want to be very careful about that. By the way, if you guys have any questions, just put them in the chat box here, and I'll be answering as many as I can, whether it's about traveling to Mexico, living in Mexico, adapting to life abroad, dating a Mexican woman, going to Vegas, whatever. Whatever you think I might be able to answer, just leave your question in the chat box and I'll answer as many as possible. Jeremy says, hello from Oregon. Thanks for joining. Jenny says, I pay 88 US dollars a month for my rent, includes all utilities and internet, large bedroom with a kitchenette. My house will be finished in 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'll have no mortgage and rent or rent. State of Hidalgo. So I'm curious, Jenny, do you have that place all to yourself, or is that a room in a house where you have access to part of the house? Is it something like that? I know. So Hidalgo, that's one of the cheaper states in Mexico. You can get some really affordable places there. But $88, that's like 1,500 a month. Eh, I guess maybe you could probably find your own place for 1,500 in Hidalgo. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've seen those. She says to myself, not a shared house. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was looking at some, I remember looking at some places for rent in Pachuca, Hidalgo. And for example, we stayed in an Airbnb there in Pachuca. It was the Airbnb was like 20 bucks a night. And this was recently, this was just a few months ago. This was 2023. But that Airbnb that was renting for 20 bucks a night on Airbnb, actually maybe after fees it was like 30 or 33 or something, but before fees, like their posted price, something like 20 bucks, right? If that same place was renting long term, it would have been like a 2,000 peso a month rental, which is what's that now? Like 110, 115 bucks, something like that per month. Krista asked, Jordan, we live an hour away from the border. Recently, we are getting serious about moving there. Any places you would recommend coming in through Douglas, Arizona? We want a place close to travel back. Yeah, I would look into, well, I'll tell you what, let me pull up a map here because I don't remember the name of the place, but it's in Sonora. I want to say it's called San Carlos or somewhere around there. San Carlos, Sonora. I'm just pulling it up on my phone here because I wanted to see if, so that's a pretty place. It's it's close, and I mean it's not super close to the border. It's not like a Rosarito or an Ensenada. It's further away than that, but I mean it's it's a straight drive down on a major road from Hermosillo, which is a major city there. But yeah, you could look at that place, but also there's various towns along the water there in the state of Sonora that I think would be worth looking into. I'm thinking further south than Puerto Penasco, um, but yeah, maybe somewhere between San Carlos and Puerto Penasco on the water there. Oh, here's Donald saying, I live in San Carlos. Cool, thanks for sharing. What do you think of it? And she asks, I'm very sorry, what town did you say? Right here. Donald is there. Erlinda says, San Carlos is beautiful and an easy drive from Tucson. Coming back to Queretaro, beginning of November for a year, been home for 5 months. Anything new? Uh, I mean, there's always new stores and restaurants opening. Uh, you you might be surprised to see there's Tim Hortons all over the city. That's happened in the last year. Uh, what else? We just got a Boston's Pizza. There's a Cheesecake Factory opening. Uh, yeah, bunch of new stores and restaurants. Other than that, I don't think there's any. major updates for you in the last year. So there's major road construction going on. Cinco de Febrero, which is the main thoroughfare through the center of the city going all the way up to Juriquilla, it's under major construction. And well, they're working really fast on that, and they're working hard day and night to get it finished, because it's causing awful traffic throughout the city, because it's a main thoroughfare that many people would take every single day, but now they're forced to take other routes, which is causing major traffic jams on other roads, like Bernardo Quintana. That road has been awful, but they just reopened part of Cinco de Febrero, but until that's finished, it's going to be causing kind of a traffic nightmare. Hey, Chris, thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate that. He says, think about moving to Guadalajara. Thoughts in terms of safety? Sending y'all a super chat. Coffee on me. Thanks, I appreciate that. Thoughts on Guadalajara? I really like the city. There's a million things to do. There's a lot of petty theft there. Specifically phone snatchings. Like, you're walking around, someone on a motorcycle drives by, snatches your phone. That happens a lot. Now, is that something that would keep me from living there? No. But there are other dangers there as well. And I'd want to be in a safer part of the city. Now, I don't know all the neighborhoods nearly as well as I do here in Queretaro, but I mean, anywhere around Guadalajara Country Club is a good area. Colonia Americana is a good one. My mind is slipping me. Like the other areas of the city that I know are slipping my mind right now. But yeah, I would try to find a place in a nicer neighborhood there, but I love the city and I would consider living there. Miguel asks, have you heard of Las Estacas? It's in Morelos. It seems like a cool place for weddings too. If you guys haven't chosen the location. I am not familiar with that. We still haven't chosen the exact location. We were hoping somewhere in or near Querétaro, but being in Querétaro will probably be more expensive than some other options. Albert says, traffic is a nightmare in Guadalajara. I sure didn't like driving there. When living there, I was either biking or Ubering almost everywhere. So Guadalajara has a great bike program. At the time, it was 365 pesos for an entire year, and that included unlimited bike rentals. So that'd be about $20 for a year. And lots of the streets have bike lanes, and every couple of blocks there's a bike rental station, and you scan your little key fob that you have, which releases a bike for you, and you ride that bike for free for up to a half hour, if I remember right. And then you just dock it in another bike station. And you can do that as many times as you want. And if your half hour is almost up, you can just go ahead and dock it and then immediately rent another one. But that's really awesome. You don't have to deal with any of the upkeep on them. The bikes were kept in great condition, and it was super easy to get around. So when I was living there, whenever something wasn't within walking distance, it was usually with just a short bike ride away. And I would generally do that. And then if it was a little too far to bike, or I was going to the grocery store or something like that, well, then in that case, I would Uber. Zapopan, that's another nice neighborhood. Pretty big area, but yeah, very nice. So MG Toe says Chapultepec is the happening zone. So if you don't know, Chapultepec is like one of the main avenues in Guadalajara. And yeah, tons of bars and restaurants around there. Some good neighborhoods nearby as well. Like I mentioned, Colonia Americana, that's right there, walking distance away. But yeah, I would definitely consider living near Avenida Chapultepec. Can I buy a mansion in Mexico for 185,000? Assume this is US dollars. So that would have to be like 3 million pesos or less, because after closing costs, that's probably going to be about 185,000 at 3 million pesos. A mansion, not in Queretaro. That 3 million pesos would get you a small single family home here. But this is one of the more expensive places in Mexico, at least one of the more expensive population centers, one of the more expensive cities. I don't know the real estate market well enough about the country to give you an accurate answer, but the best I could answer that is maybe if you go to a cheap area. Maybe if you go to an area that has lots of problems, like cartel problems. But, and I guess it depends what you consider a mansion too. Like, are you going to get a 20,000 square foot home for that? Highly doubt it. But could you get an old hacienda that's needs lots of repairs and basically needs an entire makeover? Maybe. I don't know. Now, if your idea of a mansion is 4,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet, yeah, you could do that in some places. But I guess it just depends on what you're thinking a mansion is. Domizi, thanks for the super chat. He says, hey Jordan, what's up? The other day, this YouTuber at Upton was compared living in Bali and Mexico. Was whacked when he said Bali has more variety in food. It would be nice if you could do a response. I tagged you. So I'm sorry, I didn't see that tag. I haven't personally been to Bali, but I mean, I think it depends on where in Mexico you're going. So a little bit ago, we were talking about Sonora and on the coast there, the state of Sonora. I mean, if you go there, mostly what you're going to find, especially in the smaller towns, is seafood. And you'll find what they call cocktails with like seafood that's cooked in citrus and citrus juices and whatnot. And maybe there's not a huge variety of food in those small towns, and other small towns are going to have their own things that they specialize in. But I mean, you come to a place like where I live, I don't see how you could possibly have more variety of food than you have where what we have here. There's everything. There's Japanese, there's Korean, there's African, there's Indian, There's of course Mexican. There's foods from literally all over the world. Whatever you could want is here somewhere. So I don't know. That's all I can say on that. I think probably the bigger the city, the better the variety you're going to see. Salt Lake Snow Bunny asked, Jordan, what advice would you give to a girl about to be 21 and going to Vegas for the first time? I'm bringing $3,000 and staying 5 nights at the Virgin Hotel. Any tips? Uh, First, I would say if, like, let's say you're going for your 21st birthday, if you're about to be 21, you're going to get a lot of stuff for free. You're going to get into, if you want to go to clubs, you're going to get into clubs for free. If you're going to bars or something, there's going to be lots of people offering to buy you drinks and things like that. So the reason why I bring this up is I think $3,000 is overkill for you. Now there's a million things to see and do in Vegas, and maybe you have some expensive stuff planned, but there's lots of stuff to do there for free. Just like walking up and down the strip and seeing everything there is to see, and walking in the various hotels. There's lots of free shows going on and lots of cool things to see in and around the hotels. Lots of people watching to do. So bring this up because there's lots of free things to do. And maybe you're planning on gambling a bunch. But even if you are, I think if you brought less money with you, it would help you. Because if you have $3,000 cash with you, there's a good chance you'll end up spending $3,000 cash. And maybe that's what you're thinking. Maybe you're thinking that you're planning to spend it all, and you want it to be like you're turning 21 and you want it to be the trip of a lifetime. So you're going to have plenty of budget to do everything you want to do. And if that's what you're thinking, yeah, go for it. But if budget is a concern to you and your hotel is already paid for, maybe bring $1,000. You'll still have money for gambling. You'll still have money for everything that you want to do. But yeah, go check out the Bellagio and the flower display and check out the fountain show there. Go next door to the Cosmopolitan. Cosmopolitan is super awesome inside, absolutely incredible. Go to the Venetian and walk around through the canal shops there. Lots of really cool experiences. Now, if you want to pay for some special experience, one that I could recommend is doing a nighttime helicopter flight over the strip. That's a really cool experience, and I think it's definitely worth the money. Wise One says, love you, Jordan. Taking my first trip to Mexico next year. Awesome. Where are you headed? Oh, Domeezy says, I tagged you on at Upton's Facebook page. Okay, thank you. Yeah, on Facebook is a place that I would be likely to see tags, but I did not see that tag. Sorry about that. Jordan, the way you are dressed with the echo makes me think you are in jail. We are talking through a plastic window thingy. Oh my God. Yeah, we just moved into this house. I'll have to work on doing some things to fix the echo in here. Lorraine, if you sent stars on Facebook, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Unfortunately, my software doesn't allow me to see when people send stars, but it shows up as a blank comment. If you have any other questions or anything, let me know. Just leave that question there, and I'll try to get to it. I'll be looking for it. And thank you very much. Oh, and regarding the question about Vegas, if you're still around here, I'd recommend trying out a high-end buffet while you're there. At least one. You could go to the one at Wynn at Cosmopolitan or at Caesar's Palace. One of those three, pretty cool experience, incredible food at any one of those. So if you have the budget, check out one of those. Miguel asks, can one live on 64,000 pesos a month in a 4 to 5 bedroom house for a family of 4 in either Jurica, Zakia, Juriquilla, Loma Dorada, Zibatá? So on that list, yes, you could do it in all of those easily. For Zakia and Zibatá, though, I don't know if there's going to be anything that comes even close to that budget there. Like you pick the most expensive home in either one of those. And now, I guess I was thinking just in terms of rent, like literally just the cost of the rent. If that's what you're talking about, yeah, I don't think you could find a home in Zakia or Zibatá that's 64,000 pesos a month. Now, Jurica, easily. Juriquilla, easily. Now, there's wide ranges of prices in Juriquilla, and also Loma Dorada. That's a lesser known one, but it has huge homes. So, I mean, they're not all enormous, but some of them are 7,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet. Same with Jurica, that has huge homes as well. However, those in Loma Dorada tend to be a little bit older, but if they're well maintained, they can still be very nice. And something about Loma Dorada, something I love about that neighborhood is that you're up on a hill and almost everybody has a view, and lots of people have view of the aqueduct there. And you're very close to Centro there, but you're like out of the way that you don't have to deal with this traffic of Centro every day just when you're going there. And then you have views and you're close to lots of stuff. So yeah, definitely recommend Loma Dorada, but it's a place that not a lot of people know about. Gustavo asks, what is the interest rate in Mexico? So the one set by the Banco de Mexico, I believe the last time I looked, it was 11.25%. So yeah, if you're investing your money in a CD with a bank, you should be getting 11% or more. If you're able to get some kind of loan for a car or a house or something, your interest payment is going to be in excess of that. Okay, Miguel, thanks for clarifying. 64,000 net income. So let's go on the assumption that, well, so Loma Dorada, you're probably not going to find a place for less than 30,000 pesos. Now, if you had 34,000 pesos a month left over after paying rent, yeah, you would still have plenty of money to live. However, you may not be able to get approved for renting the house if it's more than a third of your income. So let's say you have to take 1/3 of your income, and because you may not be able to get approved for a póliza jurídica on a house that costs more than that. Well, in that case, Zibatá is a great option. Zakia is a great option as well. Now, both of those are a little on the outskirts of the city, especially Zibatá. So you have to keep that in mind. But if you're living in Zibatá, it has everything there. So you don't really have to leave Zibatá for very much. Now, Corica so if your income's 64,000, let's just say we're talking about a rental that's 21,000 a month or less in terms of pesos. It'd be tough to find a place in Corica for that price. So that's probably out. Coriquilla, there's still lots of options there on 21,000 pesos a month or less. Like in the Santa Fe area, for example, there's lots and lots of options in the 15 to 20,000 peso a month range, and it's a very nice neighborhood. It's safe. Lots of walking paths around the neighborhood. There's a dog park. There's another nice park there. It's walking distance to quite a few bars, restaurants, a grocery store. So that could be something to look into. Ignacio says, "Hey, did you guys ever get your deposit back from that realtor?" By the way, people always complain about how I say that. That I say the word realtor wrong. That I say like a realtor or something. And yes, I've always had trouble pronouncing that. I'm sorry. I keep bumping the microphone with my face. But no, they never gave us that money back, and we have since filed a lawsuit here in Queretaro because if you guys don't know the story, they essentially stole our money. So now we're seeking reimbursement through the courts. Miguel says, "I noticed Zibatá mainly has modern houses and new buildings. They're mainly fraccionamientos." Yeah, and if you're not familiar, like fraccionamientos, gated community, and all of Zibatá is inside of a gate. However, they do let anybody in because there's lots of restaurants and shops inside. So you can go there and be like, "Hey, I'm just going to this restaurant," and they'll let you through the gates. However, it's not totally insecure or anything because they take everybody's ID. There's cameras on your license plate going in. They check your trunk as you're leaving to make sure you aren't stealing anything, things like that. And then also inside of Zibatá, there's gated communities inside of a gated community. But yeah, you're not going to find any colonial style buildings there or anything because it's a modern area. And so yeah, they're all modern homes there. There's nothing old. It's the only fully public golf course also in the city. The other golf courses are private or at least semi-private. Christian says, "Hey Jordan, here's the link that the guy on your YouTube chat was talking about. popped in. Thank you. I appreciate that. Gustavo says, is Mexico tightening monetary policy too? They were, and they were doing so aggressively. That's the biggest reason the peso has been so strong here over the past year. And if you look at a chart of the US dollar to the peso, or basically any other currency relative to the peso has been relatively strong. And I stress the word relatively because if the peso were actually strong, prices here would be going down, but they aren't. The peso is only strong relative to the other shitty currencies out there. Excuse my French. But yeah, they've been hiking rates very aggressively, even more aggressively than the US has been. They went from, I think, about 3% up to 11% in less than a year. And it was like every couple of weeks, it seemed they were going up another quarter point or half a point. Miguel asked, why is Zibatá less expensive compared to Jurica and Loma Dorada? Seems like colonial homes are more expensive. So Jurica is pretty expensive because the homes there are generally huge and the yards are generally huge. And land here in Queretaro is pretty pricey. So most of the time people have small yards, but Jurica is one area where that's not the case. And typically people have very large yards. So in Jurica, mostly it's the size of the home. And as for Loma Dorada, a big part of that pricing and like why it's more expensive is the location. It's a great location, minutes from Centro, minutes to Alamos, minutes to Costco, just a few minutes to places that a lot of people want to go to. And you're right by Bernardo Quintana, so you're very close to some of the most popular restaurants in the city. And then also you have the views. Your Loma Dorada sits up on a hill and you're right by the aqueduct. So a lot of the homes have views of the aqueduct. But also homes in Loma Dorada tend to be pretty large. They're older. They're mostly like 30 years old. So that's one reason why it's not so expensive. But yeah, basically for Loma Dorada, it's size, view, and location. And then Zibatá, location. It's less expensive because it's further out of the city. It's not really part of the city. It's kind of its own city on its own in the northeastern part, excuse me. And also the homes in Zibatá aren't as big as in Jurica and Loma Dorada. Like your average home in Jurica might be 5,000 square feet. Your average home in Loma Dorada might be 4,000 or 5,000 square feet, whereas your average home in Zibatá might be 2,000 square feet. So the homes are a lot smaller there. Christian asked, do you think there's a big chance Mexico's next president will be a woman? I'm trying to think if I've seen women in like political positions that are high up, and I don't think I've seen much of that. I don't know. I don't feel like I know enough to comment, but if I commented based on my best guess, I would say that it's probably unlikely. Mark asked if we've set a wedding date. So in Mexico here, there's oftentimes two ceremonies. You have the legal ceremony where you get legally married, and then the ceremony where you like invite all your friends and family. And we wanted to do the legal ceremony sooner. Since it's not gonna cost too much money, and we wanted to do that for personal reasons as well. So we're planning on October for that one, and then April is the tentative date, or like tentative month for the other one. We were thinking about April 20th, but that's a Saturday. And we found out that the venues are a whole lot cheaper if you do it on any other day than a Saturday. So if we did it on a Friday or a Sunday, it would probably be like half the price for the venue that it would be on a Saturday. And these wedding venues can be pretty expensive. Like, they can easily run you $10,000, $20,000. So hopefully we can find one that's still nice, but not so freaking expensive. And maybe it'd be like April 19th, April 21st, something like that. The neighborhoods in Zibatá have tiny yards, Miguel says, and the houses are right next to each other. It almost feels like an apartment complex as opposed to a house. Yeah, kind of like what I was talking about. Like, land is expensive here, so most communities, when they're selling lots, they're selling small lots. Like, we might be talking about 150 square meters, maybe 200 square meters. Whereas the house I grew up in Minnesota, I don't know exactly how big that lot was, but I imagine it was probably like 1,000 square meters. And like, we were middle class, but that's kind of the size of lot that everybody had where I grew up. So if that gives you something to compare it to. So when you're building on those small lots, typically people are not building a one-level house. They're buying a small lot and they're building up. So maybe it has a 2 or 3 levels to the house, and then a very small backyard. Manuel says, what's the best buffet in Las Vegas? So I'm going to stick with, in my answer, I'm going to stick with the major buffets. And there's like smaller specialty buffets, and I'm not even sure if they're still open, but there, for example, there's one that's like $150 and they open for lunch and they serve you like unlimited lobster and crab legs. So I'm excluding that, and I don't even know if that one is still open. So of like the major buffets, the major hotels, it's a tough one. It's like a 3-way tie between the Cosmopolitan, Wynn, and Caesar's Palace. The biggest one is Bacchanal Buffet at Caesar's Palace. And it's really good, but I think it's a little bit overrated, and you get a bit better value for your money going to a place like the Wynn Buffet. I'd probably say a Wynn if I had to choose one. Hank asked, question, Jordan, what are your thoughts on landlords changing their rent payment from US dollars to pesos? Landlord told my girlfriend, your feedback would be very appreciative. Thank you in advance. So now, if your girlfriend has a lease, landlord can't do that. It's whatever in the lease. But if the lease is expiring and you're signing a new lease, well then, yes, they would be in their right to change that in that new lease. Now, they might be doing this because the peso has strengthened against the dollar. So if maybe when you moved in, they're like, yeah, I want payment in dollars because the dollar is the more stable currency. And now, after the past year, and every month they're getting paid in dollars, and they're realizing they're getting fewer and fewer pesos each month as the pesos gain strength against the dollar. Like, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea to do it in US dollars because it's not as stable as I thought. Now, I don't know if it's in the middle of the lease and your lease is in dollars, I'd tell them to pound sand in a nice way. But if your lease is ending and the landlord wants it to be in pesos when you sign again, I don't think there's much you could do other than if you don't want to pursue that, to look for a new house. I mean, maybe you could negotiate with them, but they've gotten the short end of the landlord, if accepting dollars, has gotten the short end of the stick over the last year. Now, maybe over the next year, it goes the other way, and it's actually to your advantage to have your lease in pesos, because maybe we'll see a reverse and we'll go back to what's been the norm for quite a while of about 20 to 1. Manuel says, I heard there's a time limit for buffets in Vegas. Is this true? I think I've seen a time limit sign of like maybe 2 hours at the Bacchanal buffet at Caesar's Palace. Now, I've never heard of a time limit being enforced though. I've never heard of anyone being like, okay, you've been here for 2 hours, time to get out of here. Maybe it happens. Or maybe it only happens when the buffet is super busy and they need that table and they have a reservation for that table to be occupied by someone new. Now, I've never been kicked out of a buffet for being there too long. I don't know if I've ever stayed at a buffet for 2 hours either. So yeah. Are there time limits on some of them? Yes, I've seen that, but never seen it enforced. Christian says, bro, a few months ago, my wife and I got married. We had a small wedding, under 100 guests, and we still went over budget. My poor savings account almost got wiped out. Plus the honeymoon in Vegas, they did us dirty with the resort fees. I should have watched your videos about Vegas before planning the honeymoon. Yeah, I mean, man, the weddings are expensive, and there's so many new costs that I'm finding out about that I didn't even know would be a cost or an expense. And yeah, everything wedding related is expensive, even here in Mexico. Mexican Speg asking Hank, here's another question. If the property is in Mexico, why wasn't the rent in pesos from the start? I can answer this from some people's perspective, because I've had a rent in dollars before. I've had a rent denominated in dollars, and it was fine with me because I was earning dollars, and the landlord was fine with it because they spend dollars. So, I mean, if both parties want to spend and earn in dollars, well then, yeah, you can see dollar-based rents, and you also see dollar-based rents a lot in places that are frequented by foreigners, specifically Americans. Like you go to Ajijic or you go to San Miguel de Allende or one of the popular tourist destinations. Well, then you see a lot of rents denominated in dollars there. A home loan from a bank in Mexico seems more expensive than a home loan from a US bank, correct, in terms of mortgage payments? Yes, if you can even get it. So if you're a foreigner coming to Mexico, you're probably not going to get a mortgage from a Mexican bank. Now, maybe if you put an effort over the years to build up your credit in Mexico, and so maybe you started off with a credit card from the department store Liverpool, or Liverpool as they call it here, and then maybe eventually you get an auto loan, maybe eventually you get a home loan, you have a Mexican bank account that you consistently have a balance with, well then maybe you can get a home loan, but they are at very high interest rates. So very, very few foreigners do any kind of loan, and almost all of them are paying cash upfront in full for whatever home they buy here. Caitlin asks, I'm thinking about moving to Mexico City. What are your thoughts on CDMX? Cool city with a place where you'll never run out of things to do. It's one of the more expensive cities in Mexico. But yeah, basically the pros is you have everything there. You have endless things to see and do, endless activities, museums to go to, all sorts of things, anything you could ever want. Also in terms of food or drinks, anything you could ever want. Downsides for me, the big downsides would be that it's one of the more expensive cities. Like I go to search online for rentals in Mexico City, and they're way more expensive than they are in Queretaro, where we live. Also, another downside is people and traffic. City of over 20 million people, and traffic can be horrendous. And another big downside for me is pollution. If you go onto a website that tracks pollution in the air in various cities like Plume Labs, I'll post that in the chat here so you know the spelling, but they give it a score. They give every city a score based on the number of contaminants that are in the air. And they'll have like the live score, but then also the average score you get throughout the year. And when looking at that, Mexico City is in the danger levels. Now, Querétaro, where we live, it isn't amazing. It's not amazing air quality, but it's a whole heck of a lot better than the air quality in Mexico City. Like, for example, the lower the number, the better. Like the lower the number, the less pollutants in the air. And if I remember right, the average for Mexico City was like 280. And the lower the number, the better. And Querétaro was somewhere around 50, I think, maybe 30. Don asks, are there any or many middle-class people in Mexico that are using solar panels? Yes, there are a lot. It's very popular, especially if you're a family or a household that uses a lot of electricity. Because the way the electric bills work here is if you don't use very much electricity, like you have a small house, you don't have air conditioning, your electric bills are highly subsidized, and your electric bills are going to be almost nothing. So if you're in a case like that, it doesn't really make sense to put solar panels because you're going from a bill that's almost nothing to another bill that's almost nothing. However, if you use a lot of electricity, like let's say you have a family of 4 people and you have air conditioning in every room and you have all sorts of appliances, maybe you're charging an electric car. Well, if you get up into one of these top electricity tiers, you get heavily penalized and you're no longer subsidized at all. And like, for example, a city where some people use a lot of electricity is in Merida, in the state of Yucatan. And it's not unheard of there for people to have $1,000 electric bill. And that's every 2 months. So you get an electric bill every 2 months here. So in a case like that, where you're in these higher levels of usage and you're getting penalized, well, then it can start to make a lot of financial sense to put solar panels on your house. So yeah, you see a lot of homes with solar panels, and where we are renting, we have solar panels. So it helps to keep those electric bills down. Ron Martina says, can U.S. residents get CDs in Mexico? Yes, you can. You said 10%. It's going to be in excess of 10%. It should be at least 11. If yes, what safe banks? Double what I'm getting now. So here's the thing. You buy a CD in Mexico. It will usually say on their tasa de un año, meaning like a 1-year term. And it's going to be north of 11%. But you're going to give them pesos and you're going to receive pesos. So you have to be okay having that exposure to pesos. Now, that would have been amazing for anyone who bought a CD a year ago to be receiving pesos today, because the exchange rate went in the right direction for somebody who was doing that, who was investing in pesos. Now, let's say over the next year, it goes the other way. It goes back from 17.5 to 20. Well, then your 11% that you're getting on that CD becomes zero because of the change in the exchange rate. If you're denominating it in dollars, like if you're thinking in terms of dollars, yes, you would get 11% more pesos back, but depending on what the exchange rate does, those pesos could buy fewer dollars a year from now. So there's that to consider. But also, I can't speak for the safety of Mexican banks. I've heard of lots of bad experiences of people's money going missing, things like that. I don't know which ones are the safe ones, which ones you should avoid. There's a lot of Mexicans like to bank with a BBVA, but I often hear that that's just because they have the best mobile app and they don't have to go to the bank for a lot of things. Now, I don't know if BBVA is any safer than any others. A popular bank for foreigners to bank with is Intercam, because Intercam makes it really easy for foreigners to do various things. I also know of a new bank that's opening up in the US, but it sounds like they're about to get their charter, but they haven't received it yet. They could be open any day now, but they will be under US rules and US laws. and you will be able to have CDs in more than 20 currencies. So maybe that would be an option when they're actually open. Chris, Jordan, can you say in a phrase that I'm afraid to say? Because it'll probably have a lot of people hating me for liking a different football team. Marshall here actually made one of the same points that I was trying to make. Yeah. If the peso devalues more, it could quickly wipe out the extra percentage you get with a Mexican CD. Yeah, like if you bought a Mexican CD a year ago and it's in pesos, you would have gotten the rate at whatever the CD was, that percentage. But also the exchange rate would have gone in your favor, and you would have gotten like another 15 or 20% just on the changing exchange rate. But it could just as easily go the other way and revert to the mean that we've seen over the past 5 years or so. Gregory says you have to report all foreign bank accounts to the IRS. This is a very important point, Gregory, so thank you for bringing it up. I'd like to add a little bit of color to this so people know. And I believe this is referred to as the FBAR regulations, like foreign bank account regulations or something. FBAR, I think, is the acronym. And to my understanding, it's not all foreign bank accounts. It's any foreign bank account where your balance ever exceeded 10,000 US dollars, even for a single day. So, like, let's say you're buying a house in Mexico and you wire 15,000 to your bank. You have to report it even if you're withdrawing that money the next day. So basically, when you file your taxes, it's just another form to fill out. But you have to, I cannot stress this enough, you must remember to do that. Because if you don't, there are extraordinarily high penalties. Like, they're absurd how high the penalties are. '57 Chevy, thanks for the biggest super chat of the night, 20 bucks. Appreciate that. Hey, Jordan, how's it going? Heading to Mexico this Saturday for 3 weeks. Oh, awesome. Thanks for all the inspiration and information over the years, bud. Are you heading to Playa del Carmen again or somewhere else? And I really appreciate you watching the channel and for all your support over the years. Tim says, hey, Jordan, turning 65 next Monday and flying to Mexico with my son-in-law, who is from there, looking around Baja California, Ensenada area for places to spend winters down there. Any advice? It's an area that I'm really interested in, but I haven't visited there. It's been on the top of my list for quite a while. I'm very interested to go check out wine country around there, check out the beaches around there, go to Rosarito and Ensenada. I know it's a really popular place for Americans coming down. One of the reasons is because a lot of them are on Medicare, and if they live in one of those areas, they can easily get back to the U.S. should some medical issue arise and they want to be covered under their Medicare. So, but also from what I've seen, it's really pretty there as well. The biggest pitfall I hear about there in that area are the crooked cops. From what I hear, it's one of the worst places in the country for shakedowns from crooked cops. Now, how do you avoid that? I don't know. There is a law in Quintana Roo, which is on the other side of the country in Cancun. I'm not sure if this applies to all of Mexico or just that state, but there is a law that you could actually print out that says tourists must be given a warning for minor traffic violations. So that's one way to help you getting out from any crooked cops in the Cancun area. But I don't remember if that's a national law or if that's just a state law of Quintana Roo. Don asks, in comparison to the US, are the panels relatively the same price as in the States or a lot less expensive than in the States? Per panel or per kilowatt hour, I don't know. However, I've seen quotes of people getting like a Tesla solar roof in the US, and they fill their entire roof up with solar panels, and it costs maybe $40,000, maybe $100,000. Now here, when people get solar panels, I don't think I've ever seen someone fill their entire roof up. Like here at this house, we just have a small section of the roof with solar panels, and it's enough to knock the electricity bill down to zero, or well, almost zero. I think the minimum bill here is 50 pesos, or about $3. So in terms of price per kilowatt hour, price per panel, I don't know, but the price you need to pay needed to knock your bill down from a few $100s a month to $3 a month. It seems like it only takes a few solar panels to do that. Miguel asks, are Teslas becoming more common in Mexico and Querétaro? If so, are they more targeted for crime? Are they becoming more popular? Yes. I'm seeing more and more Teslas around and more electric cars in general. As a matter of fact, the people who were renting our house before us, they had an electric car. So there's actually a plug in our house to plug an electric car if we were to get one. Are they more targeted for crime? I don't know the answer to this. Like trying to think like a criminal, I would doubt it because it's like stealing a computer on wheels. Like at least in terms of crime, in terms of like stealing the vehicle. But more common crimes that you might have to deal with are like somebody busting your windshield to grab a bag you left on the seat or something like that. Or maybe in the rare case that someone were to be a victim of carjacking, or like on the road, maybe like you're on a highway driving from one city to another in Mexico, and like there's some like thieves that try to stop you to like try to either take your car or steal everything you have. I don't know. Maybe seek out the nicer cars. But what I can tell you for sure is a type of vehicle that is more targeted are four-wheel drive vehicles, especially trucks, like pickup trucks. Those are going to be the most targeted vehicle that you would need to be concerned about. Because those are a commodity for the cartels, and that's the type of the vehicle that the cartels want. Excluding the US border, the only place I know of to exchange pesos for dollars or vice versa is banks. Have you found this to be true also, or do you know of other places in the US? So in the US, there's money exchange places, and you see those money exchange places here as well. Like driving around the city, I see quite a few money exchange places. They're at the airport too. Usually you're not going to get as good of a rate at the airport, generally speaking. But yeah, they're all over the place. But also, what a lot of foreigners do who are living here in Mexico, when they need pesos, well, first of all, before they left, they got a bank account with a bank that charges no ATM fees and refunds all ATM fees, foreign and domestic. One of those popular ones is Charles Schwab. So I have a Charles Schwab bank account, and I get no ATM fees, no withdrawal fees in the US or abroad. Also, they charge no foreign ATM fees. Like, for example, let's say you have a Bank of America account. Well, they have a partner bank here called Scotiabank. And you can withdraw using your Bank of America debit card at a Scotiabank ATM here for no ATM fee. However, you're still charged a 3% foreign transaction fee. With Charles Schwab, you're not charged that 3% fee. And also, in addition to all that, whatever fee the ATM charges you usually ranges between like $1 to $10 here in Mexico. At the end of every month, Charles Schwab refunds that to your account. As long as you're doing withdraw money on the ATM. If you're using the ATM to check a balance, Charles Schwab won't refund that. But to withdraw money, yes, they will refund that to your account. So that's one great way to get pesos. Another good one is to get an account with some money exchange service. Like a popular one, for example, is Wise. And with Wise, you can send US dollars from your US bank account to a Mexican bank account in pesos, and it's converted for like a 1% fee or so. And also, in addition to that, you could convert dollars and hold them in your Wise account as pesos instead of sending them to some other account in Mexico. So that's a couple popular ways to do it. Another popular way to get pesos here is to sign up for a bank account with Intercam. Intercam, you can actually write a check in US dollars from your US bank account, deposit it at your bank, at your Intercam bank here in Mexico, and then they will process that and give you pesos in your account. I think you can also hold in dollars if you want as well. But anyway, Intercam makes it easier for foreigners. MG says, Ban Bajo ATMs give you lots of smaller bills with you would withdraw from them, low ATM fee too, something in the range of 25 to 30 pesos to use them. Yes, that's one of my favorite ATMs to use for those two reasons. Lots of small bills, so you aren't just stuck with a bunch of 500s, and then also low ATM fees. And although I get all my ATM fees refunded at the end of every month, I still try to use ATMs that have low fees because I want to be a good customer to Schwab so my account never gets canceled, because that has happened to people. So if you can keep some kind of balance in there, not be making them refund a whole bunch of ATM fees, you'll be a better customer to them. George asked, so what's the change? So if you want to see the full explanation, you can rewind this to the beginning, but short story is that we've been talking a lot about how we see ourselves in a number of years down the road and having kids, and like we're planning to have kids in the future, and Maya and I are building a life and a home together. We're getting married, and I don't see any future where like our kids are part of a YouTube channel or something like that. And for a couple of years now, I've been wanting to do something that I'm really passionate about, and that is investing. So I'm going to start a separate channel that's about investing, and that's going to be getting the most of my focus. I'm still going to be posting on Tangerine Travels regarding stuff about like living in Mexico or travel in Mexico, Mexico related content. However, it will probably be like one video every couple of weeks, which I know is more than I've been doing lately. I haven't posted a video in like 6 weeks. But that's just because I haven't, or we've both been really busy, and for the last little while, I just felt like my head wasn't in the right place to make a video. So I was just like waiting for that. But yeah, we're still going to have Tangerine Travels videos coming out. There's still going to be a similar type of content. However, the new videos will be videos that appeal to a broad audience who are interested in Mexico, and we won't have any more of those videos, probably not, at least. But videos like that are on a very specific topic that might be helpful to a small portion of the audience, but don't apply to most people. Probably won't be doing those anymore. Spending 3 weeks at a resort, no major adventures this year, some day trips maybe. That'll still be a lot of fun. I miss the resorts. I want to go back. Maya and I were actually thinking about doing this where we would like put together a group trip at a resort. And we were trying to plan it for this year, but looking into getting quotes from various resorts, it was like they were, for us bringing a big group of people, they were offering us rates that are higher than you can book it on their website going online. I was like, well, that's not going to work. So we're still trying to do something like that, and I would really love to, but I'm waiting to find the right resort that will give us a good group discount. Any advice on controlling husky hair? I can't get it off of me. Yeah, brushing, like using a furminator, that helps a lot. And if your husky won't stay still, just put some peanut butter on some surface. So make sure it's peanut butter without xylitol, because that's poisonous to dogs. But peanut butter will just get them in one spot, licking repeatedly, and it will give you plenty of time to brush the dog. You could take it to the groomers, but I know like if you're living in the US, for example, that can be really expensive. Here, like we can go to Petco Tuesday to Thursday, I think it is. And you get a 20% discount on those days of grooming services. And to bring a husky for their basic grooming services, I think it's like 330 pesos or something. So like, what is that? 18 US dollars. So it's not so much money here like it is in the US, but that helps a ton with the shedding. And then in terms of like getting it off you, like you can find all sorts of tools on Amazon or AliExpress for cheaper than Amazon, or like lint rollers, things like that. Maggie, thanks for being a channel member. She says, Wise is amazing. The fees are very low and they give you the current exchange rate. Sorry, I'm having some allergies. Made the mistake of using my bank once for a large amount and lost $1,000 with their bad rate. Never again. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to find great ways to transfer money. Like the banks are always making something on you. Intercom is popular with people I know living in Puerto Vallarta. Yeah, yeah, it is popular there. '57 Chevy says, Jordan, I'm looking forward to that channel. I've always enjoyed your financial content. It's obviously something you're passionate about and also well informed. Well, thank you. I hope a lot of you come over and watch that channel as well as soon as I announce it. I'll be announcing it at some point in the future on this channel. Are you drinking an alcoholic beverage? I'm not. I'm just drinking tea. Kokati says, inflation starting to hit Mexico hard. You really still think it's possible to live there for $300 a month, even with this inflation? So if you're unfamiliar with this, I made a video a while back saying that if I had to, I could live in Mexico on $300 a month. In this video, I said I wouldn't want to, and it wouldn't be the life that I wanted, but I could do it. Yeah, and that's including everything. That's not just rent. That's everything. Now, how would I do that? I'd probably, first of all, I'd live in an affordable city. I would probably be finding some type of shared shared house accommodations, which there's lots of options for about $50 a month. I would be doing my grocery shopping at the local market, local mercado. And I wouldn't be buying a whole lot of meats. Those meats that I would be buying would be the cheap kind of meats. I'd be living mostly off of fruits and vegetables, like basically what you can buy for not too much money at the mercados. Now, I made that video. It was probably a year and a half ago. Could you still do it on $300 a month? Well, since then, there's been inflation here, but also the exchange rate has gotten worse. So at the time of making that video, $300 got you like maybe 6,300 pesos. Now $300 gets you something like 5,500 pesos. So now you're talking about fewer pesos with the same number of dollars. And also prices have gone up. Could I still do $300 if I absolutely had to? If it were life and death, yeah, I think I could. but it would not be a good life. It'd be a struggle. It'd be a real struggle. Living the life I was talking about in that video a year and a half ago, I think that number would be somewhere in the $400 a month range now instead of $300. They got tons of rentals for 3,000 to 5,000 Mexican a month. Yeah, there are. For clarity, if this is talking regarding this topic, I was talking about all expenses included. Now, also, a major caveat to that video was assuming no major medical expenses. Major medical expenses makes that go out the window. It did count for some unexpected expenses, but nothing major. Hey, Eric, missed the beginning. So no more travel and cost of living videos? No, there will be more of those videos. Will you be going to a Meet Kevin style investing channel? Some of the videos will be that kind of style, but some of them will be other kinds of things that I'm really knowledgeable about as well, but also in the whole realm of investing. Wise One says, love when you talk about cost of living and finances. I'll have to do another one of those videos coming up. I haven't done one in a while. MG Toe says, I buy my food at the Mercado and Tianguis. I rarely go into a store like Soriano or Chedraui or Walmart for any food. And that's going to save you a lot of money. Like, if you can have most of your grocery expenses be buying non-brand name products from the mercados, you're buying the grains, you're buying the flours, you're buying the fruits and vegetables, that kind of thing. Maybe you're buying the meats from the butcher there. That's gonna make your food budget go so much further here. It will not be about the new channel will not be about crypto. Maybe there will be an occasional crypto video. I've been mostly avoiding it for the past few years, just because there's been so many scams. And it's like every scammer who was promoting some pot company then went to like doing NFTs. And yeah, I could have created an NFT and I could have sold NFTs during that craze and made a bunch of money, but all of you guys buying the NFTs would have lost all the money. And I didn't want to do that. And I've gotten countless offers to promote crypto coins and NFTs, even on this travel channel, and I've declined all of them. Hardly a day went by without getting some kind of offer like that. But I don't know, there's just so many. I remember the day back when crypto wasn't all scams. Now, I know there's still some legit coins out there, but it's like every scammer out there is trying to make a buck by doing some ICO with some scam coin or some NFT. And I've just wanted to avoid it all for the last few years now. Coffee says, my investments bring me $650 a month. I'm still scared to move and live overseas on that because I still think it's too low. Yeah, so like let's say you're getting dividends that are bringing in $650 a month. you could live here, like maybe not in Queretaro. I'd probably go to Hidalgo, a place that's much more affordable than Querétaro. Like maybe a city like Pachuca or even one of the smaller towns in Hidalgo. And making $650 a month there, you'd be better off than probably 90% of the employees there who have a job. Because it's a cheaper place. The wages are lower there. But you could do it. But for example, let's say you keep working at whatever job you're doing now, you keep saving money and investing more in dividend paying companies, and in a couple of years, maybe you can have that number be $800 a month. And like in the meantime, you're reinvesting all of your dividends to grow that monthly number you're getting. Well, then I think like, I mean, the longer you can wait, the better off you're going to be. Assuming you can continue living wherever it is you're living right now. It's also worth mentioning that that amount of monthly income is not going to be enough to get temporary residency in Mexico. However, but if you own investments, like you own stocks, dividend paying stocks, well, then you could probably get temporary residency based on your account value, not based on the monthly income, because it's something like $50,000 or $50,000 in total account value over the past 12 months. So you might be able to qualify for something like that, or maybe you have some other way to qualify for residency that isn't financial. And there are a lot of other ways to do that. Oh, Michael's bringing up a topic that was asked earlier in the stream. Both the ruling Morena party and the opposition coalition have nominated women to be president. It appears very likely that a woman will be the next president. Oh, okay. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. I didn't know that. Jason asked, do you like tacos? Does it bear shit in the woods? Of course I like tacos. I love tacos. We're getting tacos here at least a couple of times a week. As a matter of fact, now that you mention it, I'm starting to get hungry. And I should probably get some dinner in me. If you guys have any more questions, let me know in the chat box here. And by the way, I want to mention it just one more time quickly before I end the stream, that I've gotten this request countless times, and that is to do one-on-one personal consultations. And they are paid, but it's like you can interact for free on a live stream like this. But if you have stuff that's private, or you really want to focus and ask questions that apply to your situation specifically, you can book a one-on-one consultation with me. And I'm allotting 3 hours each day for that. So you can check out my Calendly link. I'll post that here in the chat. And if you have any interest in that, you can book that with me. But anyway, I'll give you guys a chance to ask any other questions you had tonight, and probably sign off here in a few minutes. How much did your new house cost? So we're renting, and we will be doing a video on that shortly. So if you aren't following the channel, well, actually, you couldn't have left this comment if you weren't subscribed. But you can hit the bell notification, and you'll be notified when that video comes out. We'll actually be doing 2 videos, the house that we just moved out of and the one that we moved into. Does Queretaro have good equity or ROI for houses? In terms of the cost of the house versus what it rents for, no, it doesn't. Now, will there be appreciation in the value of the home? Probably. But right now, I think the average house here is overpriced relative to what they rent for. So if it's already overpriced, why does it have to go up in price? If anything, I think rents have to go up before house prices need to go up. Now, what do I mean when like the price isn't very good relative to how much they rent for? So it's very typical to have the rent for a house to be about 25 years of rent is about the cost of the home here. Now, a general rule of thumb, at least for like US real estate investors, is that they want, when they buy a house, they want the monthly rent to be 1% of the cost of the house. And there is nothing anywhere close to that here in Queretaro. So now I know buying a house isn't always about the ROI or the investment, and a lot of times it's about peace of mind, and it's about having a place that you can forever call home. So that's why I would buy a home here in Queretaro, not for the ROI. Gilbert says, I'm interested in hiring you for a one-on-one consultation. Okay, well, that'd be great. You can click on that link that I posted, and if you're interested, I'll hopefully see you soon. Did we freeze? I hope not. I'm hooked up to Ethernet, so should have pretty good connection. Kokothi says, I don't focus that much on dividends. I mostly pick quality companies and funds. Dividends are just a bonus. High dividends could be a trap. Yeah. I can't disagree with you on anything. I heard what she said about NFTs. I don't do those, but I think some are okay, I guess. What do you think about Ethereum and Litecoin and Bitcoin? Do you invest? I have had some small amounts of money in those. Like I would buy those. I'd buy some others, like someone in the stream mentioned Monero. Like what's another one? Anyway, those that have been around for a long time. I'm not totally up on what's the hottest thing lately over the past couple of years. I used to be knowledgeable on them like 4 or 5 years ago, and I think Ethereum has a lot of potential. Like if there was one particular one I'd be interested in, it would be Ethereum. Can one buy an apartment in Queretaro and then after 5 years exchange it for a house? In other words, sell or refinance the apartment to get a house instead? I don't know if there's refinancing here. Wish I had a better answer for you. I'm not sure. FDG says, would be good to get your opinion on covered call ETFs, example GEPI. Now, I'm not familiar with GEPI in particular, but I did have one covered call ETF recommended to me, and I dug into it and I read their prospectus, and I really didn't like what I saw. Now, I like covered calls. If you guys aren't familiar with it, a covered call is, let's say you have 100 shares of Coke, 100 shares of Coca-Cola, and you want to get some cash from that. A lot of people do this to fund their retirement. And so what you do is you sell a covered call against your 100 shares of Coca-Cola that you already own. And when you sell that call, that's basically giving somebody else the right but not the obligation to buy your shares of Coca-Cola at a certain price by a certain date. So let's say that someone else thinks Coca-Cola is going to go up a lot in the next 3 months. And I don't know what Coca-Cola is at right now, but let's just say it's, for the sake of argument, it's at $50 a share. And they're like, okay, I'm going to buy a call with a strike price, meaning the price that I have the right to buy it at, to buy the shares of Coca-Cola at a strike price of $60 6 months from now. So I have 6 months, and if at any time that the price of Coca-Cola gets above $60, well then it may be in my best interest to exercise that option and buy those shares of Coca-Cola because they're now lower than the price that they're trading for on the market. This is probably getting really complicated. But anyway, selling a covered call, you're on the other side of that trade. You're receiving money up front. So when you sell a covered call, your shares of Coca-Cola remain in your account. And then that day that you sell the call to that other person, you get cash into your account and you still have those shares. However, those shares are kind of now collateral against that call, because if the price of Coca-Cola moves up significantly over the next 6 months, well, then you may eventually get those shares taken away from you, but they will be buying them from you at $60 a share. So basically, covered call gets you paid upfront, gets you guaranteed income today. And then the worst thing that could happen in this case is you're forced to sell your shares of Coca-Cola for $60 a share. Now, a lot of times, especially in volatile stocks, though the amount of money you get today for selling a covered call can be pretty substantial, and you can get very good returns. But this covered call ETF that I looked into, they were paying great dividends, but they weren't actually dividends. If you read their prospectus, it was return of capital. So what they were doing was not actually paying you dividends. They were just returning the money that was given or that was invested into that ETF. So it's good in terms of taxes because it's not taxed as dividends. It's untaxed because it's just a return of capital. But you look at the long-term share price of that particular covered call ETF. I wish I could remember which one it was, but it was just like a steady decline over the years. So anybody buying it, yeah, you were getting consistent dividends, but it wasn't doing anything for you. It was basically like, okay, I'm going to send you $100 and you're just going to pay me $1 every month. And then that value or the value of that $100 is just going to decrease as you send me money every month. So I didn't like it. I don't know if all covered call ETFs are also like that. Probably not. There's probably others that are operated better than that particular one that I was looking at. But it's something you have to look into, and you have to read the prospectus and look into how they're doing with those trades. But in general, I like covered calls, but I like doing them myself. Maria, thank you so much for being a channel member and for the biggest super chat of the night, 50 bucks. She says, good evening, Jordan. Congratulations to you and Maya on your upcoming wedding. We are so happy for both of you. And thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Gilbert asked, were you able to figure out how to hang your artwork on your cinder block walls? Yeah, so if you don't follow us on Facebook, you should. But yeah, we're posting on there every single day. Yeah, we posted like, hey, please help. Try to figure out how to mount all these pictures on these walls. And the houses here are built out of concrete and cinder blocks. But I'd purchased a corded Bosch drill. It wasn't a drill that was like not powerful or anything, but I had that, and then I bought a whole set of drill bits and screws and whatnot, and I was using the drill bits that were made for concrete or cinder blocks, and with that drill, I couldn't get into the walls. They were so hard. Like the best I got was like an inch into it, and the holes were really messy. But what I ended up doing, I ended up buying a more powerful drill that was a rotary hammer drill. It was also a Bosch, and it was also corded. And then I bought a higher quality drill bit as well. And with the higher quality drill bit and that newer drill, I was able to drill through the concrete like nothing. It was super easy with that. So thank you everyone for your advice. Jason says, I got it in early on Ethereum, so it's working for me. Yeah, that's one of my biggest failures in life. I had the opportunity to be in the ICO of that. I didn't. Like $1,000 investment could be worth millions now. Gilbert says, great. Also, how do I become a supporting member? So first of all, thank you. I really appreciate your support. I see you're on Facebook, and on Facebook, it's something called, on Facebook, the paid version is a subscriber. Like if you see a subscribe button on the page, whereas on YouTube, subscribing is free, but becoming a member is paid. So it's kind of weird. So yeah, there's that option if you want to support the channel more, but something you can do to support the channel is watch the videos, comment on posts, things like that are always very much appreciated. Jason says your house color looks nice behind you. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Kokalti says, name me a single investor that made a fortune selling covered calls. Nobody's going to make a fortune selling covered calls. It's more so a way to get income, especially if you're considering selling the stock. Covered calls is a way to get income in the meantime. But yeah, it's not a strategy that I would ever recommend for someone to use to try to get rich. But for a retiree who has a stock portfolio who needs some extra income, well, it could be an option for that person. But also, you have to, with that, you may be forced into a sale of your shares. And if that's not in a tax-free account or a tax-deferred account, well, then that could also play a big factor in whether or not it's a good idea for you. Don says there are special nails for the concrete blocks. Yeah, after getting some recommendations, I bought some from the brand Tapcon, and says I would also take a piece of tape like duct tape, place that on the wall where you want to nail, and nail your special cinder block nail. Oh, special nails. Oh, I actually bought special screws. So basically, I drilled a hole and then used a screw that's specifically for concrete. And then nail your special cinder block nail into the wall through the tape. It will help prevent damage also. Okay, yeah, that's something I didn't do. When I was drilling the holes, I didn't add tape, but I suppose I would probably provide some extra support. And on some of the holes that I drilled, I got a little bit of splintering around from the concrete breaking near the hole. Gilbert says, I'll subscribe on Facebook. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Gracias and buen provecho con los tacos. Adios, he says. Thank you and have a good meal with the tacos. See you later. Thanks for the convo, Jordan. Send in love to you and my. Thank you very much. Stephanie asks, where's my? She's in the other room tonight. So I think I'm going to call it a night and go get something to eat. Thank you all for joining. Extra big thanks to channel members and anyone who sent super chats or stars on Facebook. Really appreciate you all. But thank you just for participating and being here. And now that we're moved into the new house and I got the office here more organized, I'll try to do these more often. And hopefully I can do something to help fix this echo here. But anyway, hope you all have a great night and we'll see you soon.